Welcome back to Absolutely. My name is Benny, that is Dylan, and today we're going to be talking about The Boys finale primarily, but talking heavily about Season 3 of The Boys, which I'm going to go ahead and kick this off with. I loved this season. I loved Jensen Ackles. I loved Homelander. I loved Butcher. I thought everything was great. But my biggest complaint is we pretty much ended the season back where the season started. Almost, not almost. I'm saying almost because there is minor differences that have happened to the overall story. But generally, not too much as we're kind of back where we started. Everything that happened in this season, if you were to do like a condensed rundown of the season, could be put into like one episode of the important bits. Like that's how minuscule they were.
The most important change is that Ryan likes Homelander now. Because that can actually have like effects going forward. And also like Butcher's dying and whatever. But like other than that, most of the changes have just been like character changes in terms of like relationships have changed.
Butcher was gonna go too far with Huey. Didn't in the very end. Decided to save Huey because he looked at him as Lenny. We discovered that Butcher's gonna die. It looks like I'd say Huey and Starlight or Annie now are kind of in a better position as a relationship. Like they kind of get a better understanding of everything. The boys are back together because one of the big plot devices of this entire season was that the boys were divided into 3 different groups.
Yeah, they're pretty splintered.
Yeah, now they're all back together.
That was one of my complaints about the season is that everything was like there were too many plot lines happening.
Yeah.
And it really like I think the season is definitely better in hindsight because while watching it, like I was thinking stuff like, where's the Newman plot going when you haven't touched on it in like 4 episodes? Yeah. And now you have 1 left. Like
I'd say
the
biggest thing that happened out of this, the biggest, like at the finale of the season, because we didn't get rid of Homelander at all. He didn't even get depowered. We've got him right back where he started the whole thing, is they trimmed down ancillary characters that were just not going to be important, which is most of the 7 outside of Homelander. Like they all got removed. Like if they weren't going to be important to the plot, they're out now. And that's kind of what happened with the group, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think they're focusing on like this whole season kind of seems like the setup for season 4, which is not to say like it's a bad thing because you know in a show every season should exist on its own and then also be setting up the next one if you know you're getting a next one. That's how TV works.
And this is by Eric Kripke, who did 14 seasons of Supernatural. He did at least 5 at the beginning. He did 5 at the beginning. So, like, he had it planned for 5. I wouldn't doubt if this is already planned for 5. Once Amazon realized this is our biggest show, we should keep this going.
Everybody's talking about this. Which is so funny. I feel like we should mention this every time. That it's so funny that Amazon is what's producing this show. Yeah. About like all the themes and messages it puts out. So funny hypocrisy there.
But the problem I have, the biggest issue I have with the season is there was no like overall lasting ramifications. We removed Black Noir, which I was sad about because I felt like they were kind of redeeming him, but then got rid of him. Maeve's not gone. She got the position. It's like I could totally see her coming back in that politician position that I was talking about. You know, even Soldier Boy has been just recaptured. He's not dead. Like we didn't really resolve very much. We're in a position where a lot of these characters can just come back.
Mm-hmm. Which, you know, that's I think they have plans. I think at least with Maeve, like her arc seems done. Like
it does. I will admit that it seems like because Maeve, but also Maeve didn't do much for 3 seasons. She was pissy. That was it. Like she was pissy, and her entire arc was pretty much them going, "Oh, Maeve's a lesbian. Here's what corporate America does with that. Like here's how it's going to be handled, and how much she didn't like that. Like, and that was like her entire arc, and it was like." I wouldn't even say it's a B plot. It's like a D plot because it didn't come up like ever for the most part. It would just be like a reminder of, "Hey, Maeve, you're a lesbian, so we're gonna do things." And she's like, "Great."
Right. And then she's kind of a one-note character. Like when she starts interacting with Starlight, like the very first scene that's referenced in the finale of her being like annoyed basically with Starlight, complaining about being raped. Like that is the first setup of like, okay, so this character's arc is going to be eventually she's going to be redeemed and come back to the light and not be so jaded. And that's what happens. But like you can do that really fast if you want to. But they took their time with it. But now that that's done, like there's not really much else you can do with that character, especially considering that her arc includes her going off into hiding and having no powers. So
Right.
it's like, write that character out. That's fine. And I think it was a very satisfying conclusion.
I did like what they did with her, and I did like that she survived. Soldier Boy, I feel like has just been left as a possible future villain going forward now that everyone's against him.
Yeah.
Which I actually, weirdly enough, felt a little bad for Soldier Boy, finally trusting Butcher and Huey again, only to then get betrayed by his new team. He's just like every other soup in the show, almost irredeemable. Like, I don't know what they could do to redeem him, but I'm not going to say entirely.
Almost.
I'm not going to say entirely because, like, same thing with Homelander. Like, a lot of this season was like Soldier Boy and Homelander just showing how much they got, like, just destroyed. Nature versus nurture. Like, could Homelander have been a good guy if his father figure had been around? Because at the end of the day, that's really what he boils down to. Respect me. I want family. You will listen to me. And it just feels like those desires have now manifested into what we have as Homelander.
Yeah, there's like a kind of the whole show, like obviously not the whole show because the whole show is about a lot of different things, but there's a huge theme about fathers and sons in this show, especially since season 2, and that's very prevalent in these last 2 episodes with Butcher and his dad's stuff. Butcher also sort of being kind of a father figure to Huey, and Lenny, obviously, and then Homelander and Soldier Boy and Ryan and blah, blah, blah. And I think that's, there's obviously interesting things to be said there about, like, where your problems come from and whether or not, if your parents messed you up, is that your fault?
Right. Because, like, every time Homelander shows up, and he's just being a jackass. I'm like, okay, Homelander's a bad guy. Then you have times that he shows up, like when he confronted Soldier Boy and was like, look, you're my dad. This is your grandson, baby. Like, I was kind of feeling for Homelander there. Like, the dude just wants a family. Like, like when he had the speech with A-Train and Deep, and he was like, I just want a family and I got you guys. And it's like, yeah, Deep is terrible. A-Train is, you're all terrible. But I get where you're coming from. You wanted a family and what you got was A-Train and Deep. Like,
I think that, people can hem and haw about like, oh, your circumstance made you into what you are. It's not your fault, blah, blah, blah. It's like that. You ever see that video of, there's this like white lady who like, when Russia first invaded Ukraine, she's like this white lady who like posted a video of her being like, Vladimir Putin, I wish I were your mother. And it's like, okay, like it's really preachy and weird. Yeah. And it's like, that's not, it's such a weird like stance to take.
Nurture, the argument against nature versus nurture is something that has been going on forever, and there's no definitive answer to it because every circumstance is different.
Exactly.
I fell down a weird rabbit hole of cloning your pets, and trust me, this tangent's going to matter to what we're saying. I went down a weird. Dan in the background is like, "What the hell?"
He's so confused.
I went down a weird rabbit hole because I saw somebody who was like, "My cloned pet isn't like the original," so I was like, "What is cloning pets? Is that a thing?" And apparently, you could pay like $30,000 to get your pet re-cloned, but they specifically state the personality will change because nature versus nurture. Unless you can recreate the exact circumstances of your previous pet, your new one will be different.
Especially and this show, with animals.
Yeah, and this show seems to be all about that same concept because, like, Starlight is pretty much the only good superhero in this show.
And Butcher's, I think, that's a good point too. Bringing up Starlight is a good point because I like that's she is still she still had like a. Like, from an outside perspective, she had, like, a nice childhood, but she still had, like, problems. Like, obviously, like, they deal with that a lot in this season of her, her mom being really hard on her in not, like, obviously, like, not, like, with Butcher, where Butcher was being beat constantly, but everybody has their own issues, and I think the message really isn't, like, you're a product of your childhood and your situation. It's, your situation can inform who you are, but it doesn't have to define you. Like, it doesn't mean, hey, you're going to turn into a bad person if your parents are bad. It's not black and white like that.
Well, I think that's the point of the dichotomy. I think it's dichotomy is the word I'm looking for. But the analogy of Butcher and Homelander. Homelander was raised in this horrific environment,
right?
Through corporations and labs, and they just told him what he had to do and kind of forced him in all these positions. And look what we have as Homelander. Butcher was beaten as a kid and raised in a shitty situation as well. And he is just as much of a monster as Homelander. Yeah. But when it came down to it, he was like, no, I'm going to save Ryan and save Huey. And then goes back to the boys. They're both the exact same monster with the exact same circumstances. Both were raised shitty and turned into these terrible human beings. When Butcher finally got powers, he was using it in an abusive way. Like, you will do what I say. Ooh, yeah. Glowy eyes.
It's a parallel that they've drawn a lot in this episode is between him and his father, and obviously him and Homelander. Which is interesting. And it's really about like this whole show is about grays, right? Like it's, Butcher hates Soups, Homelander hates regular people, and every other character kind of operates in the middle of those
spaces, yeah. So about this episode in particular, I think we did a great job talking about all of the boys, which is what I said we would. But let's talk about the finale itself.
Yeah.
I feel like we had a lot of buildup to be thrown into just a permanent cliffhanger. Because this show's going on hiatus again for like a year or two. We don't know if they're ever going to bring back Soldier Boy, but he's been left hanging. The Soldier Boy plot hasn't been resolved. He was awakened. He killed his team off. He was then has to deal with Homelander, and they put him back in the box.
Yeah, so I feel like it's done.
I don't feel like it is, though, because he was starting to come to terms with what the reality of this new world is, and he was becoming a monster in his own right through learning how the world has changed. But it felt like it just kind of got left hanging there. The resolution is, oh, you're just weak. I would have made you better. Oh, and he's gone. Like, I feel like that needs to come back around.
I think that was the point of his arc, is that like he because like you were saying earlier, like in the finale, they were kind of building up. It's like Soldier Boy, product of his environment. His dad was shitty, blah, blah, blah. And then at the end, it's very obvious, but like they're like, oh, Soldier Boy is just his father, like he's just as shitty as his dad, blah blah blah. And that's the conclusion of his arc to me. And it's like, it's also this show is it's
by the way, I can't believe Soldier Boy slammed Ryan like that with the shield.
Yeah.
I was like,
whoa. He doesn't know who that kid is.
Oh, I know he doesn't care, but it's still a child that he just slammed into the wall. You know, like
it's fair. This show is so interesting because it's sort of written itself into a corner, but like a corner that I enjoy. It's a little frustrating sometimes because this whole season it's like, okay, we've written ourselves into this corner where Homelander is extremely powerful and now he doesn't care about his image anymore because he's realized that he can do whatever he wants and people still love him.
Well, that was the point of like his epilogue to the season where he landed, literally killed someone in front of everyone.
Where he started.
Yeah, and we're right back where we were, but now he knows it's okay.
That's the same with Soldier Boy, where it's like, let's put these characters in the show that are terrible, and we have no way of stopping, and we have to write around that in a way that it makes sense to kill them, depower them, get them off the table in some way, and that's interesting. That's like the most interesting part of this show to me is them dealing with like, hey, what if Superman was evil and we treated that as like more complex than just like, oh, let's go get some kryptonite and kill Superman. Like Superman's evil and we have no way to kill him.
Question for you. Would you have let them nuke Ryan? I don't know. I might have if I was in that position.
I was kind of upset the whole time when they were just because that's what I was just saying is like in my head it's like they have to kill Homelander. Like I'm kind of with Maeve. It's like Homelander needs to go. Like he's got to get out of there.
Maeve is kicking his ass and then leaves to go save everyone else who probably would have also been okay. Like the group over there was all V'd up. Like I'm pretty sure they would have survived the blast.
Huey wasn't, Frenchie wasn't, wasn't.
But
so they would have been dead
instead of killing Homelander and stopping all the it's one of those situations. Is Huey, Starlight, and Ryan worth the amount of deaths that Homelander's going to cause?
Sure.
It's one of those,
but
like,
I think,
on this track is an old woman, but on this track is three people. Problem. Like, who do you kill?
But it's also like talking about it more personally, like, obviously Maeve has been, that's the conclusion of her arc. Like, it's her internal struggle. She is a hero
in the end. Yeah.
Yeah. And also on top of that, like, from an outside perspective, these are probably the only 5 people on the planet who are trying to solve this issue. It's like, if Homelander has to live for this moment, like what if she lets that happen and Homelander doesn't die and now the only people who were trying to kill Homelander are dead and then she's also dead because Homelander lived and obviously he's going to kill her. Like,
Yeah.
So
It's
I
just
think
one
it
of
was
those
a fine
situations. I
decision.
think knowing how many people Homelander has already killed, I probably would have just let whoever was related to that die. Like if
Sure.
I had to pick that moral quandary of
Tough
like
decision.
it is like the people that like that Ryan dies or Huey dies or dies or an untold number. You know?
Right.
It's like the
Which,
situation
like,
of would you go back in time and kill Hitler as a baby? I think I could muster up the urge to kill Hitler as a baby. I'm saying it right now.
There's too many time ripples.
No, it doesn't matter. I would do it.
I don't want to be responsible for that.
And you know how I would do it, Dylan? Something I keep forgetting to do. I would use the energy of G Fuel. Check out the new G Fuel Mega Man pack where you too can get G Fuel.
Wait a minute.
Use code
No.
comics at
Hold
checkout.
on. Hold on. G Fuel does not kill babies. We're not saying that.
No, but it would give me the energy to go back in time and kill Hitler.
Okay. He's not saying that either. We're just saying that G Fuel tastes good. That's all we're saying.
I thought it'd be the weirdest spot to put an ad placement.
That's a terrible spot to put an ad placement. All right, anyway. I think that back to the boys. That whole scene where they're trying to figure out I think it was done the best in this episode, in the finale, than it was the whole season of their back and forth of we can't kill Homelander, we need to stop Soldier Boy or we need to let Soldier Boy kill Homelander. That's a really hard decision to sell the audience on when your only reason for it is oh no, killing bad, when it's it's like being frustrated at Batman not killing the Joker, right?
Yeah.
It's like when somebody proves to you time and time again that they are going to murder people over and over again for no reason, they're beyond saving, rehabilitation, capture, whatever. It's probably time to consider other options.
Yeah,
and that's where they went, but
I just want to say, overall, I loved this season, and I do love The Boys. This is probably one of my favorite shows
Same.
out right now. I just feel like at the begin when they were writing season 3, they decided they needed characters at a different position for season 4, but they were such small changes that they kind of made a filler season to get us there.
Yeah,
They were like,
needed
you know what would be
it's a
cooler if
bridge.
Homelander had Ryan? It'd be cooler if Starlight wasn't with the 7. Why don't we get rid of Noir? He's not doing anything. And get rid of Maeve. She's not really doing anything. To me, it just felt like that was, and I get it. And like I said, I did love how they did it because it was a lot of great characterization. They did a lot, we learned so much about Butcher. We learned so much about Homelander, what he's actually afraid of and what he's actually weak to. There was a lot in this season, but not at the same time. It was so weird, and the leave it
it's
at this
character
position.
stuff, and that's what that's what's interesting about shows like this is normally you have episodes that are kind of dedicated to character work, and it's not whole some shows are entirely character work. A lot of sitcoms obviously are mostly just character work and jokes. But shows like this that are pretty plot heavy, when you start your season with okay, we have to deal with this very powerful senator who we know is a soup. And we have to deal with Homelander, who has gone off the rails. And then they kind of don't for the whole season.
Yeah.
And you don't realize that. Because, the whole season, you're thinking, okay, that's the promise that they're getting to. And then by the end of it, you're like, oh, that's not the promise
at the beginning of the season, it was Soldier Boy has a way to depower soups. We could use this against Homelander. We spend 5 episodes getting to Soldier Boy. Then we spent 5 episodes of him on a weird killing spree of killing people who deserve it, but he's still killing people. So it's
Sure.
You know what I mean? You don't
But again,
let him.
character work. All of that. Meanwhile, what we're doing is we're letting Soldier Boy talk to everyone. We're having Huey and Butcher kind of think about the morality of what they're doing, and it's it works in hindsight. But that's I was kind of annoyed with this season in episode 6 and 7, just because it's okay, get to the point.
Yeah.
But now that I've seen the finale, and the finale was mostly just character scenes, which I really, really enjoyed, it's it clicked for me. I was like, oh, that's what this is.
I feel like this season's going to reflect, I already say, if I had to rate the seasons, I'd say the first season's a 9, second season's an 8, and this one's a 7. All still great ratings. I think that this season will probably get bumped up once there's a season 4 and a season 5, because I feel like this season will be, it's like Empire Strikes Back. At the time that it came out, damn it, that's an annoying cliffhanger, and I hated this, but when you go to Return of the Jedi, it's it all makes sense. This is great. This is incredible.
Sure.
And I feel like that's where we
in.
are with Boys Season 3 right now. It's the Empire Strikes Back. I feel like it'll be revered amazingly in afterthought, because we already know there's a season 4 and a 5, and they planned for it. So they obviously planned for it.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Do we know there's a 5?
No, not officially, but there's talks of like it's supposed to go like 5 or 6 is the plan.
Okay.
So, and earlier
see it
I
ending
made a
at 4,
comment about Eric
but-
Kripke being on Supernatural for all 14 seasons. That is true. Someone said, "Oh, I think he was only in the first 5." No, he wrote the first 5 directly. He produced the remainder. He had other writers come in
sense.
and just threw. Here's the idea, and they would make all the episodes to tie into it. So.
That's how TV works a lot of the time.
Yeah,
Especially when you're
he
running for
went on to
14
other projects
seasons.
after his initial story arc was over.
Yeah. Cool.
So, also, I do want to I'll clarify something I said really early in our reviews. I said that they had promoted season 4, and I didn't see Anthony, whatever his last name is, Anthony Starr on the 4. No, he's on there. But you ever try to see that guy when he's not in all the Homelander getup? It doesn't look like him at all. I didn't even realize
No,
it.
well, he's not. He doesn't have the. I'm looking at him on IMDb right now. He doesn't have the blonde in there.
He doesn't have the blonde.
Which I also noticed.
He wears glasses and he wears beanies in most of his photos.
Yeah, like he I think Homelander might dye his hair, which is so funny to me because like you look at his dad and then you look at his son and they both have very brown hair, and then in that moment I was like, yeah, it's really brown at his roots. So I think Homelander dyes his hair, which is so perfect for his character. That's so funny.
I'd love to see that scene where he goes to his barber to get that done. Because you know he's not doing it.
And like Ashley's there, like getting her new wig put on.
Last thing I want to comment on. Let's talk about those 3: Deep, A-Train, and Ashley. Deep.
What a trio.
Deep was just. I don't get what they. I think the point of him is just to make him as terrible as humanly possible. Because season 1, he was the worst person on the team.
Sure.
Season 2, it was like, oh no, he's not terrible. He's just super gullible. And then season 3 is like, no, he is terrible and gullible. like what? And A-Train, I loved that he got the heart of the guy he killed. That was great. And then his brother denouncing him because he knows the truth. All of that was just so perfect to put him on this new, like, not really redeemed arc, but getting his justice.
Right, exactly. And that's what this show is all about. Is like, I was worried when he like died in, I think it was episode 7 or 6. Herogasm, whatever. Yeah. So I think that was 6. I was worried that he was gonna be dead, and that's how they were gonna end his arc with like this heroic, like, oh, he killed the racist, woohoo. But I need to have more faith in this show because that's not what happened. Like he wakes up and he, obviously fought capitalism, storms down on him. He feels like he did the right thing, but then goes to his brother, like you said, and gets like shat on because it's like, no, dude, you didn't do anything right. You just killed him out of cold blood because you felt bad about what you were doing. It wasn't about him. It was about you, asshole. It's like, yes, good. Thank you, show. For being a good show.
And Ashley didn't get much of an arc, but I am glad that we finally get to see them because she kept ripping hair out, and I was like, there's no like
she's bald.
Yeah. Oh no, she is bald. Okay, so it was a wig because that's how I was like, how is she still ripping hair out and it's not even there. Like I don't even see it.
I did notice there was a point earlier where I was like, her hair looks really good, surprisingly, and I was like, well, it could just be a gag that like she's ripping her hair out. And, like hair is very thick. Who knows? But yeah, that's. I was also like that whole scene where Homelander's just sitting there and like humiliating each one of them in specific ways that he knows will hurt them. That was very well done. It was good stuff. And like the ending too, like the very ending scene where Homelander kills that guy and then Ryan slightly smiles. That was very bone chilling to me. That was very upsetting to watch.
And the last one I wanted to talk about, because we didn't talk about them, was the arc that Black Noir went up to his ending. It was weird because he didn't get really mentioned friends. Or like, his cartoon friend. Like, it was weird because season 1 and 2, he was just the silent, stone cold killer. And then season 3, we find out he's afraid and is seeing cartoons everywhere. Like, what? What a change.
I mean, you got to do something with that character. I really liked I liked Black Noir when he was just like, the cutaways, like the cutaway gags they would do to him. Like, I remember the one
Piano.
at the... Yeah, exactly. That's at the Christmas party. It was very funny. It's a shame that he's dead now, but I don't know. It's hard to call anything underdeveloped in this show because it seems like they, like in hindsight, they really do think about what they're doing with these characters. Like the only thing that I would say is like underdeveloped is Stormfront in season 2, just because it seems really obvious for this show and a show that's usually more subtle than just here's a literal Nazi.
I think that was her whole thing, because I've noticed it a lot of times whenever we go into literal Nazis in TV shows and superheroes, that becomes the characterization. They are a Nazi.
Yeah.
You don't need anything else. It's like, oh, okay.
No.
Evil.
It's kind of a shortcut.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. Well, what did you guys think about The Boys season 3 as a whole, or just this particular episode? Let me know in the comments down below, and we will talk to you next time right here. Stick around. We review a lot of other shows here. So right now we're doing Miss Marvel. We'll be doing She-Hulk when that one drops. We'll be picking up shows here and there and all over the place. So make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and we'll see you next time right here at Absolutely.